My name is Kamber Parker, and I'm the founder of the YoPro. We are a consulting group that helps companies across the country increase their recruiting and retention strategies of young professional talent. So the YoPro helps companies to increase their young professional talent recruitment and retention. And so why that's so important for these companies is baby boomers and Gen Xers are starting to retire at rapid rates, and things are really different in this post-pandemic workplace. So young professionals between the ages of 21 and 39 years old, they are not going into those traditional leadership roles because of, one, the elephant in the room, technology. There are opportunities for them to make money from their home that literally requires them to never leave. They can be nano influencers on TikTok and Instagram, you name it. So that rate of retirement is not matching what leadership opportunities are available. So I come in and I actually help companies strategize, but first, really the main offering that I have for these companies is helping them assess their young professional culture. So I really do it in three parts. I make the assessment where I interview the current young professionals and the experienced professionals in addition to past employees. There are a lot of data points that you can collect from doing that. Number two, I offer the deliverables with action plans. So this is basically your formula for increased retention and increased recruiting. And then third is implementing all of that I just shared with you. So companies can either have that and package it, run with it with their HR team, or they can have my team come in and implement that. This is where the scrappiness of being an entrepreneur comes into play. So I worked for a small nonprofit after the big insurance company. So I went from a very large company to a very small company where I really had no choice but to have a side hustle. And so I am young. I started looking at social media as a freelance opportunity, and I completely financed my company through doing social media freelance work, so much so that that part of my business is actually still going strong, but I have contractors now and people that help me run that side of the business. But that's how I fully funded the YoPro in addition to the clients that I do have now. I think the key to success for entrepreneurs is listening and finding ways to educate themselves. I pretty much have done nothing but listen the last 5 years. My interviews with young professionals across the country have now almost gotten me to about 1,000 young professionals. So all I've done is listen and put it on my blog and put it on my podcast and YouTube channel. And I've learned some pretty amazing things. That's what led me here. And I think that's what will lead me to success with my business in the future, is listening and applying what I'm listening. Scaling the YoPro is something I've been thinking a lot about this year as I've started to grow my own client base. I actually just partnered up with the Next Innovation Center here in Greenville and have now been paired with several amazing mentors that I'm really excited to work with more. So through that process, I'm hoping to really just educate myself on the different ways that I can scale. But right now, I really envision the YoPro growing to become a consulting group that really focuses on specific industries. So having different industries that I know, that companies know they can come to me for that support. I also envision scaling the formula that I mentioned earlier. So I have this formula that I've created with the help of some marketing research consultants that I would love to be able to scale that and sell that to companies so that maybe they're not ready for that investment to do the full-fledged assessment and implementation, but they would like to figure out what's the right formula for their company to increase retention of young professional talent. I jumped in right after college to work for a Fortune 250 insurance company, so it's as sexy as it sounds. I realized really early on that it was not the right career for me. It just wasn't a good fit culturally. And in that time, I decided to start interviewing and talking to other young professionals, just again, very unintentionally trying to start a business, but I needed a creative outlet because I was struggling in my job. And so one person led me to another, and I realized I should start a blog because I was learning a lot of overlapping themes from these young professionals across the Southeast. And after a couple years of doing that, just the blog, I realized how much I enjoyed it. And I also realized there were tons of similar messages coming from young professionals between the ages of 21 and 39. And I realized I could start to make a profit off of this by using some of these messages and sharing it with companies. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I started to really realize what this could become. Well, first customer story, I met with this client several times. They're here in Greenville, a financial institution. And the first time I walked in and met with them, I left thinking, wow, I blew that. That was not the business for me, I guess. And ended up just continuing to network with people in their office. And once my business model had pivoted, I ended up actually going back in and getting that other meeting. But by the time I got there, the main decision maker, he knew that he was going to hire me before I walked in the room because he recognized that succession planning is really, really important and critical to a financial industry where a lot of baby boomers, Gen Xers are starting to retire. And that's really where I found there was this gap. And so while I'd like to say that before I met with that customer, I had my business model really hashed out, it's changed and it's continued to evolve. And so that first customer really set the tone for me. And to date, I now have several clients in the Southeast that I'm working with, mostly in the financial and legal industries. And I've started to be able to kind of customize templates and outputs that I can utilize for those businesses.